I'm going to play again for our viewers. This is Donald Trump throwing to this video. Just keep in mind, this is not standard. This isn't, a public health information video, for example. It's not a campaign to make sure people do the right thing. This is what Donald Trump played in his own news conference today.
Please, you can put it up.
People should be more concerned right now with the flu in this country.
A lot of people are concerned about the coronavirus because they're hearing a lot of news about it right now. But the reality is, comparing it to the flu, for example, it's not even close to being at that stage.
What if it is worse? Is this a moment where maybe countries put politics aside, a little bit of pride aside, and do we have U.S. officials, should U.S. professionals such as yourself get involved?
How worried should Americans be about coronavirus?
Coronavirus is not going to cause a major issue in the United States.
Well, we've asked them to accelerate whatever they're doing in terms of a vaccine.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
I mean, James, the last time I remember seeing a video played out to the media was actually here in Australia with the Chinese embassy playing it to journalists, which sort of, showed that everything from the glorious China point of view. This is extraordinary that he thinks the priority here is saying, well, look, there were, pundits on CBS that were obviously wrong at the time in February playing it down. So, again, it's the media's fault, apparently.
Look, the president spent a lot of time with his buddy Kim Jong Un, and clearly he's taken a few tips from him on how to run propaganda. I mean, his focus here is extraordinary. He's defending against personal attacks against him, or what he perceives as personal attacks. He's tweeting about his television ratings rather than thinking about this crisis that is unfolding with thousands of people taking place. And this is not a partisan political issue. I think there are many Democrat voting Americans who would be much happier to see Vice President Mike Pence, for example, step up and do the job that he's been ostensibly tasked with doing by the president, rather than just standing at his shoulder during press conferences. I think what they want is competence rather than this sort of childlike behaviour where the president is focused on attacking his critics. He's attacking Fox News on the weekend, attacking Chris Wallace because he had the temerity to suggest that the president's response was wanting during February and March. The evidence is clear. We're now just seeing 50 states in the US declare an emergency, and we're 8 weeks into this crisis.
He, of course, said not so long ago that he wanted things back open up by Easter, which clearly didn't happen. And now there's an argument with governors about who'll be able to declare when restrictions ease, and Donald Trump insisting he'll be able to. The inference, I guess, you make from that is he wants to be able to, ease restrictions earlier, even if governors don't want that to happen. Is that a fair assumption?
Well, I think if you contrast it with the way things have been done here, where we've got states of different political stripes, but a Prime Minister who has their confidence that he's acting in their best interest, it's very hard to build that confidence if you're the US president when you're individually attacking governors every day, telling them that they need to express gratitude to you and personally criticising them. So this debate over who has the authority will continue. The states that want to do their own thing will continue to do their own thing.
Something a lot of people would support Donald Trump on around the world is his scepticism around China, saying that they'll be able to clean up and make sure their wet markets are safe and reopen all of them. The World Health Organization has faith in China. You'd have to say right now, we know China could do what they want on these wet markets. I mean, they've got such control of the country, but it's whether we trust the Chinese Communist Party to do so.
Look, it was quite extraordinary to see the WHO saying one of the reasons they're not suggesting to China that these markets be closed down is the economic impact it would have on parts of the Chinese economy, which is absurd when you consider the economic impact this disease has had on the entire globe. I think there is definitely a need to review the WHO. I mean, China's politics have infected the UN. Look at the way they gained control of Interpol, and they've clearly infected the WHO to a degree, but for better or worse, it's the best organisation we've got to fight this pandemic at the moment, so we shouldn't defund it. But, there are serious questions to be asked about how this started. And one of the things I think global nations should be considering is once the fires are out, once the pandemic is over, some sort of commission to get to the bottom of how this started and to take steps to make sure it can never happen again.
Right, because this is the crucial element, not that there cannot be a wet market. I mean, ideally, they're not the safest things anyway for humans in terms of the way the food is stored, but regardless, it's proper control of them. It's not just China. China's a huge part of the problem. We know there was an issue with Middle East, obviously, with MERS as well, but this is the issue, right, that how in this day and age can we allow this to spread in this way? It just seems so preventable.
Look, there are poor hygiene practices in markets all across the world, particularly in developing nations, but in very, very few of them are like China, where they can get into a population that travels so regularly and broadly across the globe. I mean, China is engaged in every part of the globe. It's got millions of people travelling every year. And, you know, that's one of the reasons this virus got out so quickly. If you look at previous outbreaks in Asia, they didn't move across the globe so quickly because there just weren't as many people travelling. China's got millions of people travelling now, and so what it does affects the rest of the globe, and we should be very concerned about the fact that it doesn't appear that they're taking these wet markets seriously or the ongoing risk of these wet markets seriously.